Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us again on another episode of Let's Set It Off. It's me, your host, Simply Sin, and with me, my co-host, the lovely, the sweetest, the most working hard woman ever, the crazy girl in the game is Wendy P.
What's
And
up?
today, guys, we have a very, 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 very special guest today. She is not only the founder of the nonprofit Helping Swans, she is an advocate, a certified advocate and interpreter. She is also an author. She published 6 books. She is also a speaker of autism awareness. And most importantly, she's a devoted wife and mother. She is your girl, my girl, Miss Media Marlene. Hello.
Hey, thank
Welcome
you.
to our show.
Yes.
I'm excited to be.
Look at us in
Yes.
the neutral shades with the gray whites and the. I was still thinking it was summer. I wanted to do the little floral thing.
I got a little color here.
Yeah, I
Okay,
was
good.
trying to find something colory because I was thinking about the autism colors, but this is the closest I got.
Listen, right now the autism colors are every
Yes.
color.
Oh my god!
So
You know what I love
when
when I drive around here. Like when I'm going to the park or the schools, there's a lot of houses that have the signs outside, which I thought that was super cute. I never seen that before. They have like these autism puzzle signs in front of their house, like I don't know. You know how those for rent signs look, but it's
yeah, it's just to let people know if they coming onto the property. I'm actually petitioning in my city so that I can have an actual sign on my block because my block is 35 miles per
oh
hour, but nobody goes that speed.
Wow.
People
Yeah.
speed. So they actually have actual symbols, just like the stop sign, where it says, like they'll have a deaf child or
yes,
autistic child,
yeah,
but you gotta go and you gotta petition so that the city can actually put
no,
that
that'd
sign
be
up.
pretty cool.
So but for other parents that don't want to do all of that, they'll get a sign just like you have,
Mm-hmm,
alarm in
mm-hmm.
this home, or this home is alarmed or
Yes.
whatever it is, or
Well,
we dog aware of we have either a deaf child, autistic child, so that way when it comes to communicating or if police
they
come
already know,
over.
They
basically,
know.
heads up. I
Yeah.
actually love that because I never seen that before, and I
Yeah.
driving around and I've seen that here, and I'm just like, this is super dope. Actually, I think I was actually gonna call you one day to tell you, but you didn't answer, as per usual. So anyhow, I'm super excited for this topic because me not just having obviously being a mother of 3 kids, having my 2 kids that are teenagers now. Um, I have a baby. He is 11 months old, about to be a year soon, and we were talking before how like having a baby now versus having kids before is very different, right? And obviously this will be another topic for another day, but believe it or not, Instagram, social media, all these platforms, the algorithm, the messages that are being told, they're good, right? But for people like me who's still battling postpartum, they kind of put my nerves like up here. Like it's really bad. And I get it because I've also been told, like, even, you have told me all these things have been going around. This
Right.
is nothing new. The problem is that now, because we are in this, in this world that we live in where everything is just being spoken more about, there's more awareness about it.
You have access
Yeah,
at
so you kind of
fingertips.
get more anxious, you get more scared, more nervous. Not because I'm scared of the what if, but it's just like, how what do I do? How would I manage? What would I do?
Mhm.
I feel like, this I give it to you because I read your stories constantly and everything you're doing to help out all these moms and dads and families that don't know exactly how to deal with situations, don't know how to look for help, don't know how to seek help, don't know what the do's, the don'ts, the fact that you're able to treat your son normal. Like there's nothing like you could feel like, oh, because I have read a lot of situations where parents that have autistic kids, they close themselves in a bubble, and they don't know how to seek help, and then they think that they're doing the right thing by just overprotecting him. But I've seen you, like do everything you've done for him and continue to do. And it's like, damn, how the hell does she just do it? Like, mad normal. Like nothing, like it doesn't bother, it doesn't, of course it does, it doesn't phase her. Like it's a natural thing for her. So this is very, it's a very learning topic for me, because not just, am I around family, friends, but I feel like I would love to get more educated on it. I want to know, how do you do it? How do you manage to be such a hardworking woman, a mom, a wife, and do everything that you do to find awareness and to find help, and give people the help that you're doing for the kids. So I know Wendy is actually super excited for this. She has a lot of questions that
Hmm.
she wants to ask you, so I'm gonna let her take it over.
All right. Well, thank you again for coming on. So, the first question I do have is, can you share your personal journey and how autism has shaped your life and career?
Well, for one, let's start with statistics. 1 in 36 kids will be diagnosed with autism right now. In the future, that's going to look less. When my son, who's now 11, AJ, um, when we were first, when he was first brought home, I had an advantage that most families do not get. My son was born with a genetic condition and was hospitalized and went straight into the NICU, the ICU for neonatal. And he stood almost a month there. Because he did that, and he spent that time there, and they told me, hey, he has a genetic condition. We don't know what it is. You have to do testing with a geneticist. That gave me one leg up, because what I did was, and this is an advice I give to any parent. And Cindy, for your case, RJ is 11 months old, but even at 11 months today, you can start this trend, which I already know that you're doing. But at any age, your child could be 4 years old. I tell every parent, get on your notes app, on a piece of paper, notebook, whatever you have available to you. Watch your child's movements, watch what they do, watch their routines. And when you see a shift and change in that child, write it down. Write it down. You may think it means nothing, but if you get 3 or 4 of those incidents and you say to yourself, hey, I noticed that my child's stomach hurts every time they eat something with red
Right.
sauce. You're not going to know that if you're not taking down notes. So, because my son had a genetic condition, I came home and I was like, I'm going to write everything down that I see that's different. So, a word that we don't like, well, I'm going to speak for myself, because we live also in an era right now where anything and everything is
Mm-hmm.
offensive to people, right? So, I'm going to say what I don't like. I hate the terminology of normal, because for me, my kid is normal. My kid is
Mm-hmm.
normal. He has medical conditions, he has a neural developmental condition, but
Right.
he's normal. You don't ever see a person with diabetes, they're not
Right.
normal. They have
Mm-hmm.
diabetes. He's autistic, along with other things that he has. So that's a vocabulary I learned that, you know what? I don't like the way that
Mm-hmm.
sounds, right? But for him, he didn't meet milestones. He didn't laugh. He didn't engage. He didn't even cry. A lot of people are so used to saying children on the spectrum, when they get overstimulated, they scream, or they cry, or they like cover
Yeah.
their ears because they're overstimulated. But what a lot of people don't talk about is being understimulated. Understimulated means that my son doesn't need, like when he was a baby, there was no mamitis. He could see me 100 times and there was no, yeah, that's my mom. I need her. There was nothing. It was a blank stare. It was, um, if he was hungry, if he was, it was just like,
Like neutral?
he's not going to show
Right. Okay.
Gotcha.
emotions. None. So I knew in the first year, maybe 4 months, I was like, nah, he's got to get evaluated. The problem for him was we didn't get an actual diagnosis till 7 years
Ooh.
old. I fought for all those years because he having a medical genetic condition, they said, well, how do I know that his genetic condition, the rare
It's not
disease he
what it is.
has, those are the symptoms of his rare disease and not
Mm-hmm.
autism? So, can two things co occur? Absolutely. One of the most common co-occurrences are ADHD and autism. A lot of people on the spectrum also have ADHD. That doesn't mean you can't not have both of them or have one without the other. For sure,
Right.
you can. For me, that was a big turning point for me because I knew all along, regardless of his rare condition, he's showing me all the telltale signs. And for everyone, it's a spectrum. So those signs are not the same for every
Okay.
person. And sometimes you see those signs, like they'll say, oh, the child is organizing their toys and not playing with them. That doesn't
Right, because
always
that's
mean that
the first thing
they're
that everybody
autistic.
usually thinks.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And after all these years, and I finally got the diagnosis, it did a lot for me mentally because I felt like I knew it all along. I treated him that way all along. He didn't qualify for no therapy because he didn't have the diagnosis, beautiful insurance and the way it works in
Hmm.
America. You need a diagnosis code in order to receive help. So what I did was I went back to school, I educated myself, I took behavioral courses, I became a registered behavioral tech. A lot of people don't know that I am one, a certified registered behavioral tech, so that I can come home and instead of my son going out and doing ABA therapy, I was doing
For
ABA
him.
therapy with
Right.
my son at home.
That's really cool. Yeah,
It's been a lot.
it has.
What a
It
journey.
definitely has. I know, right? It's a lot. That's what I'm saying. Like it's so much that people don't know that comes with it, you know? And the thing is that this is what confuses me before you jump to your next question. So, everything is always, oh, he has autism. Oh, he has autism. Oh, but what are, just like you said, not, it doesn't mean that because they stack the toys that he has autism. There's different type of level of spectrums, which I didn't
Mhm.
even know that. I learned that obviously with you and knowing more about AJ. But it's like when you go on like social medias for instance, or you go to a doctor's office, if a kid is throwing a toy under his leg and he's doing it consistently, as, oh my god, you got to check him, he has autism. So it's like I
Right.
also feel like every little thing is becoming a diagnose without being a diagnosis. You understand what I'm saying? Like it's not, because you cannot tell me that because kids do so many different things nowadays, especially
Mm-hmm.
babies, toddlers, or let's just say until they're like 5 years old. Are you Is everything really an autism, or is it just that that's just the easy way for a doctor to say that it is, or what is really the cause of it? So
Okay. So number one, there's three levels: level one, level
okay,
two, level three, and you can have multiple levels for multiple things, right? So socially, my son is a level one, meaning that it levels go according to your support needs. So if you need minimal support, you're level one. If you need hands-on and support like multiple support strategies, you're level two. If you need one-on-one because
you're
you're
okay,
eloping, you're a runner, you're gonna hurt yourself, you're gonna bite, you're gonna inflict danger onto not just yourself, to someone else, then you're
okay,
level three. And then it's not just behavior wise, it's also academically, it's also they grade different areas. So they'll say AJ's behavior is level two, which means he's not responsive to just AJ don't do
Mm-hmm.
that when he was younger. It would be more, I have to be more aggressive in my, reprimanding
hmm,
him and how do I structure him or how do I soothe him. Where to as socially or academically, he's level one. So like self-care and grooming or things like that, he's level one. He can just, here's your clothes,
yeah,
put it on. Where to another kid, level three, they
yeah,
can't
yeah,
put on their pants.
Mm-hmm.
My son can't, is 11, he doesn't know how to tie his shoes. No matter how hard we try, he'll get it. But the manipulation, the fingers, the patience, he just doesn't have it,
yeah.
right? So I refuse to give up on it. I'm going to work with him. I don't care if he's
Right.
25. We're going to celebrate that day that he can tie his shoes on his own, because I'm going to be tired of bending over. But in the meantime, there are different
Hmm.
levels. And honestly, I really think that autism has been around forever. It was just there was no diagnosis for it. I sit around a lot of people and adults, and I say, wow, that
Wow.
person, I think they're on the spectrum. They
Right.
don't even know it, right? Because they're older, because they're my age, and even me, like um a lot of people don't know, but my whole life I've been ADHD, right? My mom not wanting to put me on medication because it will hinder you and your career and who you are. It's going to put a label on your child, like ADHD is the end of the world, or like you have a mental instability because something's wrong with my brain. Neurologically, I'm all over the
Mm-hmm.
place, right? So when I got my son diagnosed, you do testing. So it's not just the mom comes into the doctor's office and you say, well, my kid is doing this and this and this. And they're like, oh, yeah, check, check. It's not that. It goes into deep
That's so bigger.
evaluations. I'm talking about wait lists for
Yeah.
like years to try to get evaluated. Um, and doing those evaluations, when I'm filling out the questionnaire, I swear to you, it was like talking about my
Right.
life. Does your child do this? And I was like, my child, that's what I do. That's what I do. That's what I do. And I said to the doctor, I was like, can someone like me actually be autistic? And they're like, why would you say that? It's a spectrum because most people feel like you're autistic, you have to be an introvert. You can't be an extrovert and be autistic, but
Yeah.
that's not true. My son is
Yeah.
very social. He's the life of the party. He's very talkative. Does he go back into his? It has to be something that catches
Right.
his interest,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. But it looks very different on everyone. You know, it's there's no clear. If I can tell you, if you see these 10 signs, this is what you want to look for. But it affects multiple things. When we say the child has autism, the stimulation is one of them, right? Like going into loud noise spaces, things that you can't control, like an airport, too many people. It's too many people. It's like having that anxiety of that pressure of like, oh my God, I don't even know where to look
Yeah.
at right now
Mm-hmm.
because it's just so many people. The noise is bothering me. It's like the feeling, and I've heard this from adults with autism. It is like the scratching of a nail
Oh,
Oh,
on the board.
no.
It is that feeling. That's how they feel, and that's why they scream because they can't control
Yeah.
that sensation.
Damn.
It's everything from organization. You know, like my son at 10 said, "Take all the toys. I don't want no more toys." And I'm like, "Whoa, did you just grow up? You don't want no toys in your room." It wasn't about I don't like toys. It was the cleanliness, the organization.
too
I'm
much.
not doing that. And I had a all you had to do was throw the toys in a bin, but looking at the bin bothered him. He didn't want the bin. He wants, and a lot of parents do this for our children, a very minimalistic setting. Their room, very minimal. You'll probably find 6 out of 10 parents with an autistic child. If you step into the child's room and you have a little girl, you're not going to have Disney princess and all this glitz and glamour everywhere because it's just too
Mm.
much. My son needed for years before the diagnosis, the cable boxes, or they have a little light, or like the
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
time, let's just say on I would have to cover it. And I didn't understand back then. I was learning also. But he can't concentrate with that. We're like light sleepers. He's a light sleeper like me. If he hears something, it's just like,
Right.
what's that noise? Where did it come from? He'll hear anything. He'll come from his room right now. He was like, I heard a voice. And it'll be me on a podcast or something
Yeah.
like that. And I'm like, hey Jay, it's just a little
Wow.
paranoia. They have fixations, like hyper focus on things. If you notice that your child is playing with something and they only like to play with that toy, or they take the toy and instead of playing with it appropriately, like a
Oh
car,
yeah, I read that too.
that's what a typical
Yeah.
kid does, right? But when the kid is just spinning the wheel, you're like, why do they find that part
Yeah.
fascinating? And why do they keep doing it over? So that is repetitive movements. They just continue to do that over and over. And that is helping them. That is making them feel good.
I
Do you
that's
feel,
you said that.
I have a quick
I
question.
go ahead.
Do you feel as he's getting older, it's getting easier, or is it still kind of the same?
I did a video last week on this. I think that even when you have it all figured out for
Mhm.
that age, you think that we learn something new every single day. My son told me last week, I don't ever want to have to drive.
Mhm.
I don't ever want to have to drive. We had a conversation. He's 11. He's got years to this, right? But this randomly came out. And he's like, no. And then I said to myself, what is it? He's like, it's too much going on.
Right.
I don't ever want to be the responsible for driving. So I'm like, that was new for me. Last week I sent him to school. This was a huge topic in a video that I did was I would plan out
Mhm.
meals are huge. Routine is huge. My son at one point refused to eat dinner if it wasn't at 6 o'clock. He could be starving at 5 o'clock. But if it's not 6 p.m., he's not eating the dinner a
Mhm.
minute early or a minute late. He would stop whatever he's abuela. 6 o'clock, whatever it is, because he need to
Yeah,
eat
I
at six
remember.
o'clock. One last week we order his food. He has like a food truck
Hmm.
at school, and you get to order your meals. And I pre-ordered his meal. We had a conversation. I said, "You don't eat bread. Take out the bread, but it's a fried chicken. Eat the chicken." He said, "Okay, I could do it." And he didn't eat the sandwich because it was wrapped in aluminum
Uh,
foil, like a sandwich. And he said, "I didn't want to touch that. I didn't touch it. I just threw the whole thing out." And I'm so hungry.
Oh,
When he came out of school, I cried. He's
yeah.
oh,
11. I learn things every day.
yeah. Wow. So is it like a texture thing with the aluminum foil?
Yeah. So it is a lot of people don't realize, but like fruits and vegetables are huge for autistic children, not liking them. There's some, of course, that love fruits, and I'm not speaking for everyone. But what I learned, the reason that they don't like it is because things that don't look the same, it's part of their
Hmm.
routine. So French fries, no
So
matter
they're
where
all
you
the
get French
same.
fries
They
from, they
always
always
look
look
different.
right. All length, they could be shoestring, whatever, they all look the same. You throw them off when you give them a wedge, but everything else, they'll all look the same. Now, give them a strawberry. No two strawberries look the same. Some have curves,
Hmm.
Or
some have
bigger,
indents, some
The
smaller.
have like
double.
all the little,
Right.
little dots on it. They look weird. And that looks weird to them. So it's the texture of touching it. It's the visual, the way it looks. It's like, I don't even want to taste it. I don't know if I like it, but I'm not even going to try it. And I refuse to try it.
Jesus Christ. It's a lot that comes with it. It's a lot of
Right.
learning. It
Absolutely.
is. It's like you
Yep.
really have to educate yourself on these type of things to even know how to handle them. Not just having a child, but even having a relative, having a sibling or having a friend, that has a kid that's autism, that's autistic. Is it's just so it's like I think that's what affects me the most. It's just the way the social media makes it seem. It's not like you said, it's not just, oh, you just self-diagnose the kid and you take him to the doctor and you tell him, oh, look, I think my son has autism. It's like you're saying right now, you have to go to the doctor, you have to get evaluated. It's not just, oh, my son is doing the same thing over and over, I think he has autism because I read it on social media, I read it on the blog, and they said if you're doing this and this and this, he has autism. And that's my thing. Like, it doesn't work like that, and I feel like parents also don't know that, and then the ones that are seeing the things that the kids are doing and are being like being denial is a big thing. That's a
But I
Mm-hmm.
think that
There's
goes,
people that are still
yeah,
in raising it at
yeah.
home.
But I think
that's
Hispanic people in general, back in the days, our parents, they really didn't believe in none of that. Like Marlene said, getting on medication, therapy, all that stuff. They didn't believe in that. Oh, este muchacho está bien. Yo no voy a ponerle
Mm-hmm.
medicamento.
It,
And
you
I
know
could
what?
say that I think like that sometimes. Like, because, with my own son, I'm like, he does this. Maybe he has this. I'm like, no, I'm not going to put, you know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
no one
we
wants
have
to
these
face
conversations
reality.
all the time.
Right.
I've had this
Yeah,
conversation in the
we've had these
Yeah.
conversations too.
it's that stereotype. It's the being ashamed. Latino culture, unfortunately, we still have people that think
Mm-hmm.
that way, and social media is what you make
I
of
hate
it.
it.
So I'm a big pro social media person. I'm pro social media. I think that if you're doing good by it and you're trying to get a good message out, or even if it's not a positive message, even if it's a hurt story, you may be helping someone
Mm-hmm.
else out. Now, if you're going out there to be a troll and you're malicious and you're just, like
Being petty and immature like I was,
not doing,
correct.
yeah, exactly.
You get,
Like, but I think that if you what I do, putting the message out there, telling my experiences, talking about, like, I'm very big when I do presentations and I do conferences. I'm very big on breaking the barriers to the Latinos and the minorities. We have very little access, meaning that we are number one underrepresented and underserved. So you have a hard time getting to these evaluations, getting into an appointment, a year and a half, wait 2 years to get evaluated for autism, right? That's real
That's
life.
insane.
Imagine not speaking the language. And you get there and you finally try to get in and you get in, they don't have people that speak your language. I didn't realize that until I moved out of
mm-hmm.
Miami. I was like, what do you mean? I don't offer anything in Spanish. I'm sitting in a waiting room. These parents are like getting tested. Their kids have cancer. They're taking
Wow.
treatments and all kinds of stuff. And nobody speaks the language. And I'll say, well, what is it that your child has in Spanish? And they'll be like, no sé. And to this day, I interpreted last week for a family. And when I told the mom, besides autism, what is the other condition your child has? She gave me the name, the gene, I should say, the DNA gene. And I said, well, what are the
Right.
symptoms to that? What little did she know is that before I meet any family, I do my research. I ask them those questions first and I go interpret because I need to know
Right.
who they are, their triggers and everything. She had no idea how to explain to me the child's
That's
symptoms at all.
sad.
I knew more about the condition than
Yeah.
she did because of the language barrier, because of lack of
Right.
resources. It is huge. And on top of that, add the stigma of not believing in stuff and being in denial. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
we're never going to help our little children.
That's so hard. I think that that's probably one of the hardest things. Now, and let me tell you that like, after you started publishing the books and you started, giving, doing the advocating and basically teaching all of us more, now I see it so much. Like I have friends on social media that have these beautiful kids and these beautiful babies, and I'm just like, I would have never, unless they start giving
Would
their
have never
story,
thought.
I would have never thought. And then when I see it and I see them talking and I see that, they're telling their story and it's not easy, and I'm just like, well, first I start forwarding. I'm like, well, look, go to her page, go to her page, and I like forward them, and I'm like, God, like it's so many people, and you just don't know, because a lot of people, they tend to hide it because they're so scared. Just like you said, they're scared of what are people gonna think, or they're
Mm-hmm.
ashamed, and it's like,
Judgmental people.
and it's
Yeah.
so heartbreaking because, like, no, 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 like I'm okay with it. Like I don't have an issue.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to know, like, how's your experience going? Like, what, how are you handling it? How are you feeling? Because most importantly, there's a really big question that a lot of people don't always ask, and it's like, how are you doing as a mom? How are
Mhm.
you feeling? How are you, like, are you okay? Because you have to be like
Mhm.
10 times stronger to just, like you said, every kid has different levels, it must be hard for the ones that have to be more hands-on, or for the ones that, have a lot more, or one, two, three more, two, three kids, or it's, so I'm just always like, I wonder how she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
I see the kids. I'm
Mhm.
sure the kids are great, because at the end of the day, you're the mom. You're gonna do everything you can to make life always easier for your kid. But it's like, how are you
Absolutely.
handling it? How are you feeling?
I always say that. Check in on your people. Check in on your friends. Just even if they don't have a child or a loved one with autism or special need, you don't know what people are going through at home. You don't know people's mental, and you don't know the stress that it takes. Like, I may be able to take stress to a
Mm-hmm.
9 before I down, where Wendy could go all the way to a 10, or Cindy could go to a 5 and be like, I'm done.
Baby, I
Like,
could
what's
go to
going
like a
on?
two.
Like, I,
My stress level, like my blood pressure, be up to here. It's like, what's stressing you out now?
Right.
and then your body does that. Like, she suffers from high blood pressure. And the first thing you think that I go, oh my God, I'm so sorry, your blood pressure's high. What's the first thing I ask you
What
every
happened now?
time you
What
tell me?
happened?
I have
What triggered?
what's stressing you out? What triggered you? It has to be a trigger. I get headaches,
Mm-hmm.
right? I used to have a tumor. I get headaches that the minute I'm overthinking something or stressed out, I get a headache. And so when I get a headache, if I tell my mom I got a headache, the first thing she says is, what's stressing you
My
out? What
mom
are you
do the
thinking
same
about?
thing. Tú estabas pasando mala sangre. Porque cuando tú pasas mala sangre, que te sube esa presión, el dolor de cabeza, tienes un ojo que no te molesta, que tú no puedes ver, es de todo que te da.
Is
I just
absolutely
noticed,
true. So you definitely want to check.
sidetrack, like side note. Wait, what do you say?
No, definitely want to
No,
check in
wait,
on your
what is it that you
friends.
say when you want to like talk about something that's not what you're trying to talk about, but it's really like off topic?
That's it. It's
Okay,
off
well,
topic.
I just noticed, really off topic, that I have a focus problem. I can't seem to focus. So for some weird reason, I'm listening to you guys, but I'm also erasing here. So don't think I'm being rude and ignoring. But I'm trying to
Yeah.
write a message that I want to talk about at the end of the show. And I'm like, am I really being rude? Because I'm just sitting here
No, I
erasing
was
while
just
you guys.
wondering what was going on over there.
I have ADHD, so
I'm like,
I learned in interviews to be polite. But normally, I'm over here thinking about the show I'm gonna
let me
watch
move
when I
this
get
out
off
the
this.
way because I'm like, but I went to the eye doctor again, off topic. You see, it's like, oh my god, the butterfly. So I went ahead and I went.
Somebody needs that evaluation.
She sure
Just
does.
I
saying.
went to the eye doctor, and the doctor told me, okay, so the eye doctor told me that my eye vision is really bad, right? I have a focus problem. And she asked me, first thing she asked me was, do you get headaches very often? I said, headaches, that's like me, a second person. And she was like, your body at the end of the night is giving you a headache because your brain, I don't know if I'm saying it correctly, but she said your brain is using is working harder to focus because your eye vision can't no more. So this is why by the end of the night you have a focus problem and it's causing you a headache. And I said, I happen to think I do have a focus problem because my man says that I can't focus every time I'm having a conversation. And I literally told her Wendy the other day, I said, yo, I can't focus. Why is it that I'm having a conversation, but then I get distracted? I realized, and I didn't have to self-diagnose myself, my brain is just giving up on me because I can't see. I'm going blind. Like right now, you guys all look very blurry, just so that you know. So I can't focus.
Oh my God!
Wow.
Don't
Yeah,
say that.
no.
First of all, we're not.
Exactly.
I have a red eye
Okay, well, yeah. You see,
condition
people like my mom and you that
that.
have all these histories. I can't even make a joke about this. I think.
No, you
No,
definitely
no,
don't
no.
want to
I don't
jokes.
make jokes
Yeah.
about stuff like that. You're calling it out. You're calling it out. We're not calling it out.
Okay.
Okay, but
Really?
you definitely need
Mhm.
glasses, new
They said I could buy
prescription,
focals.
and you probably do have like a little ADHD or ADD. Doesn't have to be ADHD. I'm ADHD. I'm hyper. I don't see the hyperness in you. Maybe the
I
lack of
thought you were gonna say you
focus.
don't see the hyperness in yourself. I was about to say, baby, bombastic.
No, listen. I am right now, right? But I am hyper all the time.
Yeah, I'm not hyper, but I definitely
Very
can't
hyper.
focus. I just caught myself for a second. I was just like, what the hell am I? Hold on. What am I doing?
Right.
Anyways, let's
I'm
go
like,
back.
what is she doing with the whole
I'm so
eraser?
sorry. I was really
I saw it too, but I was like, in my mind, she's
I am.
probably
I
writing
was
something down
erasing
for me.
everything I had written so that I could write something that I wanted to do at the end of the show. And then I'm like, I think
Focus,
I'm being
ma'am.
very rude right now. Sorry.
It's
All
okay.
right, let's go.
I
Let's go.
got
Let's
you.
go.
All right. So this is not on my list, but I wanted to ask you. So obviously, when you found out, that AJ, had a condition, how was it to tell your family, right? Because I know, like you guys stated, like a lot of times you're embarrassed. You don't want. You're like, oh my God, what are they gonna think? Or are they gonna think that there was something that I did while I was pregnant? Right?
Yeah.
So how was
Well,
that?
number one, mom, we call it mom guilt. It should be called parent guilt
Mm-hmm.
because either parent can feel it or both parents can feel it. But I definitely had mom guilt. My son is 11, like I said. I probably repeat myself, but I still get mom guilt,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like the episode of him not eating a lunch meal. I cried hysterically. I could
Mm-hmm.
not stop crying. I want to cry just
Yeah.
talking about it. Guilty because you feel like you gotta like, what did I do to cause this? We don't have a cause for
Right.
autism as of now, right? There's a lot of theories, right? Whether it's vaccinations or the food, the environmental, is it genetics? There's all kinds of theories out there. So definitely, I want to start with mom guilt is really hard on you because you feel like it's all you because at the end of the day you carried the
Mm-hmm.
child, but in the families, number one, I want y'all to know that it's a good 80% of homes that get broken up because of a special needs child, because of the pressure and the stressors of a special needs child. When we think about money being the root of a lot of
Mm-hmm.
divorces. Let's be real,
Right.
right? A lot of divorces. And that's just divorces. We're not talking about baby mama, baby daddy, boyfriends
Right.
living together. We're talking about divorce rate, like actually
Mm-hmm.
paperwork. Um, Most of the time, when you think about what is the number one thing that will break up a marriage, it's
Money.
money. It's not infidelity. It's money. People will take somebody back for cheating, but there's no money to pay bills. I will want to leave the marriage. You would want to leave the marriage. You're unhappy. We can't get needs met.
Mm-hmm.
All kinds of stuff, sprinkled down. When you have a special needs child, all that money is going towards that need,
Yeah.
right? Like my son is still getting diapers. I'm still buying wipies. He's 11. Who wants to keep
Mhm.
doing this? And how many
Wow.
more years? A lifetime of that. So the homes start from there. So getting that news that I have to now share with my spouse. At that time, I was married. I'm no longer married to my son's father. I am happily married with someone else. But when I was with him, dad was in denial.
Mm,
So, how do I break it to the rest of my family if we can't even get on the same page as
that's
husband and
hard.
wife, right?
Mhm.
So that was hard. Then my mom, being very Dominican, I love her to death. I know she has great intentions, but her mentality was,
Oh
él no
yeah, for
tiene
sure.
nada. Es que los doctores, mira, ellos le quieren asignar todo a toda la gente a cobrarle
Mhm.
dinero. Eso es para dinero.
Definitely.
Oh, I've seen that before.
Dominicans
Don't
be like,
listen. I know a kid that didn't talk until he was 7 years old. He's normal.
Mhm.
These are the things my mom would say. It wasn't until she sat with me and all these doctor's
I
appointments and
saw.
all these negative news that I would get that she would be like,
Gosh.
now
yeah,
what?
Yeah.
Get it, has it. What I did, which I always tell people, you are your child's advocate, right? So whether they're verbal, whether they communicate via sign language or a device, um, if you're around family, if you have a big family, small family, I don't care if it's only one
Mhm.
aunt or 10 aunts, sit your family down, break it down to them, but don't just say, my child has autism, blah, 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 blah. What is autism? What does autism for your child
right.
look like? What triggers your
Mhm.
child? So that way I can try to help them. How do I soothe your child during a
Yeah.
meltdown? Can I do when they're in my house to accommodate your needs? A lot of people don't think like that, right? So when I have people come to my house, I'm asking everybody, what are the allergies? What is this? And maybe it's because I'm a special needs mom,
Right.
like anything that I can do to make it, not because they're sleeping over my house. I'm talking about you just come to
Of
my house for
course.
dinner and I want to know, how do I accommodate that person? So I literally, um, my husband's side of the family, this family, and my side of the family, I literally sat them down and I gave them a breakdown of what autism is, what it looks like in general, but it's a
Hmm.
spectrum. Things change. With my son to this day, I get people that sometimes look at my son like he may pick and choose the days he wants to be autistic,
Mhm.
It's
but
crazy.
it's also because they don't realize, this is not their everyday life. So they just think like, oh, all of a sudden that bothers him. But last
It
time it
didn't
didn't bother
bother.
him. I understand. I
There's
can't
no
turn the
on and off
autism on and
button.
off. So I try to educate them as best as possible. And then their responsibility is, if they want to be responsible, is to then have these talks with their kids, which I've been very blessed. Like my husband's side of the family, super blessed that they were able to go home. My side of the family, go home, talk to their kids in a more
Oh
deeper
yeah,
level. Like, listen,
it's so
when AJ do
important.
this, when you see, don't be judgmental, or make sure he's safe. We have another nephew, Cindy and I, that is autistic, right? And he's younger. So it's like watching him grow up at 4, 5, 6 years old. Okay, but all eyes on him. When he's in the room, make sure he
Yeah.
doesn't go that way, or
Mhm.
he doesn't. We kind of, I talk to my generation, they talk to their kids, and it trickles down. And as the years have gone by, they look out for
I
each
love
other.
it.
But I know not everyone has that support system. Not everybody has a family that's willing to listen or accept. And sometimes social media becomes
Yeah.
your family.
Yes.
I have people that I have grown into and met in different cities because we've connected with the bond of, you understand what I go through. Not everybody else
Mhm.
does. I could talk to my family all day and they could love on me and love on my son, but they don't know
Mhm.
what I go through or what I've got.
It's
Right.
it's really it's funny that you said that because working at a school, when I was in Miami, I worked in a school as a educator and a dance coach, and I used to have girls in my dance team, and I am gonna put it out there because it was something that always bothered me, and I used to hate, and I'm gonna use the word hate because that's how much it bothered me, that they would pick on kids that to them were just like, oh my God, like, what the hell? Like, oh my God, this person is so weird. Or this. And I was like, do you even know what's wrong with that little girl? Do you know
Mhm.
before you start talking about the little girl? Do you know what's wrong? Have you asked, or have you even asked your teacher if you're scared to ask her, or you're scared to ask anybody else?
Mm.
And I remember one time I was in the dance room. I remember this like it was yesterday. And some one of the dance coaches was making a comment about it, because then there's immature adults
Oh,
making a
absolutely.
comment about it
Okay.
and is laughing with the kids, and it gave me something like a pain in my chest, because I'm like, you're an adult.
You're an adult.
What kind of fucking example are you setting? And I remember my daughter was
Absolutely.
so hurt that she went outside and she spoke to me, and she had tears in her eyes. She said, I don't like that these people do this, because I have cousins that are, autistic. I have a cousin that's Down syndrome. Like, you just don't know what is wrong with you just
Hmm.
don't know. Everybody's different. And the fact that they were just laughing and nobody sat here and told them or took their time to educate them on this is what could be wrong, or this is what could be happening. Just because you go to a public school, that doesn't mean that you cannot have a kid who has an IP or a 504 or something like that. You understand? So it's like, why
Hmm.
are you but to me is, why are you making fun of these kids? You're 12, 13, 14, 15 years old. So you're telling me that at home they didn't teach you this? Home, they're
They
not
don't.
telling you? They're not letting you know?
And I'm
Not showing?
why. You know why they don't teach them? Because it doesn't. If it hasn't affected your home, it hasn't affected your immediate family, you're not having these conversations. This is why I
This
write
is
books.
crazy.
This is why my books are how to teach your children at an early age. When I go to schools and I do events in schools, I don't just read my book. I come in with a whole like work and play depending on the age group, but I teach them about disability inclusion. I do a whole back and forth of, you know, a person in a wheelchair. What are they? They're disabled. They can't walk, right? A person in this. Do you know how long they've been in a wheelchair? Were they born and went straight into the wheelchair? Did they have an accident? Are they in the wheelchair temporarily? My son just got measured for his wheelchair. Is he going to be in a wheelchair his whole life? No, I pray he's not. But is he going to be in a wheelchair in a few months for a period of time? He is. But you can't just assume you see a medical device that is disability
Hmm.
only. Disabilities in different
Yeah,
shapes and
sometimes they're
forms,
not
and
even
you can't
visible.
they're not visible. So that's a big deal, and I
No
try to
vibes.
that's part of my jobs is teaching
It's crazy.
kids not to be judgmental, not to assume. I've had a teacher tell my son last school year that he was making weird sounds was the word that the teacher used because the kids were like, ew, like he was making
It sounds like a little
noises.
kid.
And the teacher then said, oh, it's because your son was making weird noises. I said, what'd you say? Oh, I went to superintendent. I went to the board. I went everywhere. What did you just say on record? My son was making what? So now I make sure on his IEP that stimming, a lot of parents don't realize it. You put stimming down, verbal stimming, because it's
Right,
different kind
right.
of stimming. My son does visual where he has to do this with the toys over and over and over. And the humming was a big deal for my son. So how he soothes himself is by stimming. And when he was in the gym, the teacher was making them do like this and like that, and it made my son feel good. So my son would be like, "Oh, that's good. Oh," and
Later.
yeah, and they found it funny and found it weird, is what the
That's
teacher said.
exactly the
So
vocabulary words that came out of those kids.
And this was a public
yeah,
school at that time, or do they
my son's
That's
school was a
at that
public
time?
school at that
Okay.
time.
that's so
So how,
crazy.
so obviously you guys came from, so everyone knows you moved from Florida over to Georgia. When you
305.
transition,
Mhm.
when you transition, do you feel that Georgia was bet? Obviously, you moved for other reasons, but like it was better in the sense because from what I hear, the fact that they have signs outside, I've never seen that in Miami at all, where they have signs. So I feel
Yeah,
like
well,
they're more united, right? Or is it? I don't know.
you know what? Every city is different. I feel like Miami is a really like they're really good on and they're on top of
Okay.
autism. I don't think you see it because you're not looking for
Okay.
those
I'll probably
signs.
see
You
one
get what I'm saying?
tomorrow.
Like it's like you probably will
Hmm.
because of this conversation, and you're probably going to be
Oh
like,
"Wow."
"Oh snap!" Because
There goes
Miami
your
has
there goes your
police
Instagram
cars.
algorithm.
Miami has all kinds of stuff.
Hmm.
and because we're talking about it, you're gonna see it on your feed
Yeah.
all day, right? But yeah, Miami has a really big. I actually participated in Miami's first ever
Right, you
neurodiversity
did.
summit. So at Miami Dade College in April, there was their first ever autism summit, which was amazing, and I was a panelist there. And I came from Georgia just to be there because Miami is making moves when it
Okay.
comes to autism. But for me, the transition was definitely the best thing for me because my son had a great hospital. He went to Joe DiMaggio in Fort Lauderdale, but they kind of gave up on my son with his rare genetic
Mhm.
condition and kind of said there's nothing else he could do. And he also was told twice by two different specialists, oh, I can't diagnose him with autism because he has a genetic disease.
Wow.
Where here at 7, they said
What is it?
bozos. Who said that?
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and thank God that I fought the insurance to get my son therapy because had I not, my son would have never received therapy all those years and that I educated myself. But imagine all the parents that don't have the time, the energy, the money to educate themselves. I paid for my
Mm-hmm.
classes. Ain't nothing free.
A
I
lot
paid
of
for all
hard
my
work and
courses. So
dedication.
yeah. So that's why my nonprofit, I go with whatever donations I have and I offer my services to you for free because I want to be able to help those in need. If you got money, you're going to pay me under my business
Right.
name, Media Marlene. If you have money and I got some money from donations, then I will show up like I did last week to interpret for a family with a child with autism. I will come and I will bring my little cards. I make my own cards of
Yeah.
communication where the child can just point and show me things. I did that for my son. You know, I try to find a way. I'm never going to let the doctor tell me. We all know who has the final answer when it
Right.
comes to
Mm-hmm.
everything, and that's the man above,
Yes.
right? But aside of that, I know like I have a purpose. We have tools that are here and are accessible. Some people just don't know how to access it. So what can I do to help people? I'm going to use myself as a tool and bridge that gap and help other families
Yeah.
in any kind of way I
We
Yeah.
can.
love
And
that. We
I'm
definitely.
assuming a lot of the families are families that don't have papers, come from other countries that you're helping translate.
I have a
Okay.
I'm helping. The ones that I interpret for definitely are the ones that are not documented. Um, when I, just minorities have my heart
Mm-hmm.
completely, no matter where
Yeah.
you're from. Um, so I'm helping everyone out. I don't care what nationality you are. You can be American with
Mm-hmm.
documents. It doesn't matter. And you may not need an interpreter per se because you speak English, but
Medical
medical
is
language
different.
is very
Yep.
It's a whole different.
you just may be
And don't be Googling because
you
Googling is going to tell you all the wrong things and it's going to scare you.
oh, it's going to scare you. And it's, the thing with researching is you open up your eyes to a lot more and that may frighten you, right? Paranoia of like, oh my God, is my child going through, I think
What
my
are you,
child does
what are you
this,
telling me?
like Cindy wants to run to the doctor every three
Right.
days. And I'm like,
She starts Googling and is in the doctor every day. I'm like, what? That's
Oh my
normal,
God.
she shows me, and then, like, she shows me the leg. She shows me the baby like 2, 3 weeks ago, right? And I was like, "Oh, it's this, it's that." And she's like, "Well, I'm on my way to the doctor." She calls me when she's done with the. She's like, "Yeah, it's exactly what you said.
But
The doctor said the same."
again, it's this, it's that, it's the social media, it's the Google, it's the WebMD, it's everything that you just read. And I understand that it was always here, but it wasn't
Mhm.
something that I was paying attention to, maybe wasn't something that I was very much aware of. Because even again, even having my nephew, who I love to death because he thinks he's smarter than me, right? Well, he actually is. I don't think I don't want to say where he think he is. I think he is. I tell him all the time. Even being
Yeah.
around him since since she was pregnant, since he was born, being in the NICU, and just seeing him grow up to be this young man that he is, um, I would learn him, right? Like I would ask her when he started, like let's say he would come around or I would pick him up. Is there anything I should know? Like, what are the do's and don'ts? And it's funny because he's so grown, so mature. No, yes, I don't do that. I don't like this. Like, I don't even need your mom to tell me at this point because you're telling me everything. You're beyond smart that and it's not smart because he knows everything. It's because he knows like his allergies, what affects him, what he doesn't like, what he does like, what's gonna bother him, the do's and don'ts.
even his
Everything.
medicines, what time to take. He does it all by himself. But I'm a big believer, and I tell parents this all the time. You asked me this question in the very beginning. How do you, like, instead of sheltering him and keeping him in a bubble, you raise him to be independent?
Mm-hmm.
I try my hardest to make him as independent as possible. This whole summer, I watched my son make breakfast every day. We worked on it every day. It's a skill. Why? Because one day we're not going to be here. Who's going to take care of my kid then,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, um, I'm a big believer that I'm going to make him make his bed, even if the bed is the most ugliest way to fix the bed. It is an amazing way because he did it. And guess what? Doctor said at one point he wasn't going to talk,
Mm-hmm.
walk, or
Oh
do
yeah,
anything. So
It's all about
make the bed
structure.
the way you make the bed.
it definitely is.
Yeah, and he's saying no, that he
He's
did it.
a future baseball player, by the way. If you guys don't know, make sure you guys go follow him because and do not tell him that the Yankees suck, okay? Because you're gonna have a big
That's
problem.
his team.
Oh, he's Yankee
He
fan,
is
huge
a
Yankee
Yankee
fan.
fan. Listen, I took him the other day with me to the mall, and I was like, I literally texted her and afterwards. I'm like, I'm gonna need to pick him up more often and do these one-on-one things with him because I got educated so much on things that I didn't even know about. And we're
Right.
literally having conversations where I'm like, I feel like I'm walking around with a grown ass man. But I loved it because now that I'm living here in Georgia and I'm spending way more time with him, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
I've always been around him, but I feel like I'm more with him now. I I've learned just so much from him, and it's like what I love the most is that the love that him and my son have, because again, it's
Mhm.
so important to talk to your kids at home, right? And since little, I've always had those conversations with my kids, and they've always loved AJ just like they've loved my other cousin, with no indifferences. You understand? But the bond
Absolutely.
that they have, sometimes like I get so emotional about it because it's like I love the fact that Gio, my son, is happy to want to go be with him every weekend. Loves to go sleep over with him. Love that even though AJ might
Mhm.
be beating him up because he's talking bad about the Yankees, but he loves that. And I love
Yeah, he's not biased and he doesn't
he
treat him any
doesn't.
different. He treats him like he would treat a typical
Yeah.
best
Right.
cousin. And it's a huge deal
Yeah.
for me because Gio is an amazing boy and a good role model for my son, right? Yeah, you did that for sure. But he's a good role model for my son, but he's giving my son real
Yeah.
life
Mm-hmm.
experience, and that's part of the mom guilt. My child is not going to live out the big things. Like my son is into sports right now, and I cry at the thought of it because forget about not being able to physically do stuff, manipulate the hands, throw a ball. Those things
Mhm.
are difficult tasks and they're still difficult for my son. But to show an interest in something that I didn't even think that he would be able to do one day. And now he has a passion for it. It's huge. And a part of that is
Yeah.
Geo because he plays baseball. So now my son went from, oh, I got to go play baseball today
So
to
he loves it.
when is my first game? I need my
Yeah.
I need to see everything. So it's huge. It's a
It's
big deal.
baseball and bats if he comes to my house or Gio goes over there and it's like he tells me that his goal is to pitch to Gio and strike him out because Gio
Mhm.
swears. Gio swears that he hits every pitch. So he's like, watch one day, and I already did it once. I'm gonna do it again. Watch one day. I'm gonna pitch. I'm gonna strike him out so bad he's gonna remember it for the rest of his life. And I'm like, oh my god, like this is where we're at right now. But it's crazy because I would have never, ever, 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 ever thought that this is what it would be. Like he would be so into baseball with Gio and just the bond that they have. I love it. And with Chanel, need to see it because he loves her as well. But of course,
He's very,
Gio's
but
his
that's
favorite.
also like a lot of people say autistic people are not affectionate, or they don't all make eye contact. They don't. Some people are like, they turn away. My son will make eye contact with you all day. He doesn't like it when you stare
Yeah,
at him. He will be
yeah.
bothered.
He
Like
told
if
me
he's
that.
eating at the table and I'm just looking at him, he'll be like, "What are you looking at? Why are you
Yeah,
looking at me?" Like he'll fool those eyes. But if he's like wanting to talk to you, he's gonna look at you in the eyes. So you can't go by everything that you see. You can't go by the list. They are quizzes. If you feel like maybe this is something that you want to look into, there are
I
quizzes
bet that it's
online
so
where they ask
scary,
you.
but it's so
Scary, but it, it
crazy.
it may lead you to what you have to go through. I did a cognitive test last week um, for my neurologist for other reasons. But part of the cognitive test is they tell you ADHD, autism. You need to follow up with this. And he honestly, straight up, was like, well, first of all, ADHD all over, girl. Like, flying colors, that is all you. But we're having another meeting this week, and I don't even know what that's going to entail, to be continued on that one. But, at the end of the day, like, I stress to families, we have a saying in autism, it is different, not less. So still teach them, but teach them differently. They're going to learn things at their own pace. They're going to excel in other things. Your kid may be able to read words that you're like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Not even I know how to pronounce that word, because they have a photographic memory. They look at this paper and they're like, they know it already. You know what I mean? Math, my son, ask him to get a paper and pen. He's like, why do I need a paper? He's gonna do the math on the just in his
Wow.
head. He was not the kid to go like this. He is like, oh, see, oh, this. I'm like, how did you do that so fast? But that's a gift that he's been given. And then the autistic people that are not verbally communicating, guess what? They're listening, they're observing. Don't treat them like they're not taking in any information. You're going to talk to them and you're going to tell them everything. They're going to respond how they see fit when they want to respond. But at the end of the day, they're still
Yeah,
humans. They're still regular, typical
yeah,
people at the end of the day. So just use their mouths to speak. Some
it's
don't.
true. And also, is so. Let me ask you a question. Like tantrums, that's part of, right, of autism. Are there also levels to that? Like kids, because typically you just say, oh, a 2-year-old is having a tantrum, or the tantrum, what is it? Tantrum,
No,
twos, what are
there
they called?
is.
Terrible twos, whatever, right? So, is autism also, is tantrums also part of autism? Like, does it come with being
So
tempered
it rolls into
behavior?
behavior. It's just behavior in general. And when you think about behavior, you think about
Mm-hmm.
anything. So if I interrupt the routine, well, what is AJ's reaction? Is he going to be like, oh man? Is he going to cry? Is he going to stomp? Is he going to be angry? Is he going to hit himself? My son used to hit his head, boom, on purpose. Oh, he's not going to get what he needs. Boom, hit his head. He didn't care if he was going to break his skull. He's going to hit his head. And there's people like that, right? So that would be considered level 3. When you're going to hurt yourself in the process or hurt someone else, I'm going to bite you because you told me
Yeah.
no. Take your whole
Mm-hmm.
arm off if I have to. That is level
Wow,
3.
that's
So you need more hands on, you need more therapy, you need more eyes on you. Um, and there's other multiple things that happen. Communication is not always just like not
Mm-hmm.
talking. We have something called echolalia where they just repeat. So if you say, hey, Wendy, how are you? And you say, hey, Wendy, how are you? And they're going to say it in the same tone all the time. And they're going to repeat exactly what you said to them. So are they listening and taking all
Yeah.
in? Yes. But they only know how to speak back to you and repeat and mimic what you said to them.
Wow.
that's true.
So there's so many different ways. Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you. It
It's a
is.
lot.
It's definitely a
Definitely.
lot. My gosh, it's so much to intake, to deal, to educate. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't want my computer to die. Um,
Mhm.
what? And I think I had another question, but I'll save it for the end. Okay,
Okay, so
sorry.
you mentioned at the beginning that well, she introduced you as being an author. So can you tell us more about your books and how do people get to purchase and all that good stuff?
My books are all on my website. They're all on Amazon. I have a few that are on Target. Some are on Walmart, and all of them are on Barnes and Nobles online. I started with one story because I wanted to teach children about disability inclusion and like don't cancel my kid because he has
Mm-hmm.
autism or he has a medical condition. So I started with Superstar Heroes is the name of the children's series. And my first book has 6 kids with 6 different disabilities and multicultural. So they all look different. And then this book is very dear to me because these are all people I
Oh,
know. Like this is my niece in real life. This is our nephew right here in real life. Cindy said earlier we have a cousin with Down syndrome. That's the story of him. And then my son. That's my son right
Love
there.
it.
amazing.
So when I realized that that book was important because it teaches children Autism looks different for everyone. I went ahead and made it in Spanish,
Mhm.
and that became a big hit. This book in particular, being my first book, believe it or not, I got this into a few districts and counties. I got it here in Georgia, Gwinnett, DeKalb. I got it in Miami schools, New York schools. They use it not just as their library, they have like a classroom sets of
Wow.
30, and they use it as part of their curriculum because it's important. Like I said earlier, if you are not affected by
You don't
it
know
at
about it?
home, there's no need to talk about it.
Hmm.
And I teach people, have these conversations with your kids. You don't need to, they're going to meet someone at school. They're going to meet
It's
someone at work,
different.
they're to talk to them about disabilities. But that's not the case. So my goal is, if at least we can incorporate it some way, somehow in the school system, which we are little by little. I'm even working with an autistic, an engineer, a robotic engineer that created a robot for autism
Oh,
therapy. And it's in different centers in different cities and in out of the country. And it's in like big schools, autistic schools where they do therapy. He loved my story so much that we are doing a digital version to teach children about it and have it incorporated into the robots.
Nice.
And I realized
that's super
the
cool.
the series is a big deal. And I just continue to make books. So I have one on teaching your children about going to the doctors, because a lot of people, as parents, we like to lie to our kids and say, "Oh no, we're not going nowhere. Da-da-da, get in the car. We're gonna go to McDonald's." And in reality, you give them a vaccination, they get a shot, and they're looking at you like you crazy,
Right.
mom. Like, you lied to me, and now you tricked me, and I never want to go to the
Yeah.
doctors again. So then you get scared. So that's AJ goes to the doctor. And then siblings. My son has a stepbrother. I remarried because I told y'all divorce rates are high, but don't give up on love because there's somebody for everybody, even as a special needs
Right.
kid again, right? And I wanted to write a book about that. So I wrote a book about siblings. And that's
That
important
is so
because
I
they,
love
most of
it.
the time, they feel like that child gets all the love. That child, you make excuses for that child all the time. Oh, they don't get in trouble because they have special needs. Oh, let me guess. It's their autism. And I have to confront these things with my daughter's 25, and she still will be like, "Oh yeah, I'm sure because AJ could do it." Or AJ
Shout
doesn't
out
get in
to
trouble. Why are you
Ashley.
comparing yourself? 5 years old? Exactly. So I just continue to write,
That's
and
amazing, though.
it made me
Yeah,
feel
that's good.
It's
It's
all
good,
about educating.
right? And not just educating, but you're also like expressing all of that in your books. Everything, your everyday life,
absolutely.
well, anyhow, most important, okay, aside from all of this, most importantly, how do you manage to be a wife, a full-time wife, full-time mom, write these books, go to work, go to conference, be a content creator because she's constantly, on IG. Your self marketing that you do. She's TikTok famous, guys. Um, like, how do you manage to do all of this? Because it's hard.
Also, hold on, before you
It
answer
is
that, you mentioned you were married before and that kind of took a toll. Also include how being in a new relationship, new marriage, how does your husband, you know, how does he act with your son? How is all that? So I'll let you answer the first couple of questions and then you can give us some insight on that.
I'm gonna go backwards. I'm gonna go my husband first, and then how do I manage? So my husband is a part of my management. He, from day one dating, he never stirred away from or wasn't scared. So most people don't know is at the end of any workshop, conference, or everything, I always tell people disabilities are not all visible,
Right.
right? And they all say yes. The kids, I catch them with this and they're like in shock. Adults in shock, but not like the kids. The kids, I'll say, "So I hope you liked everything I showed you. And what do you think about me? Oh, you were amazing. You were this." And then little kids are different. Little kids are more superficial.
Hmm.
So they'll say, "You have such hair." Or I like to dress cool for them, so I'll wear like nice sneakers with a
Yeah.
blazer and things like that. Oh, I love your sneakers, and you're so pretty, and oh my god, are you like on TV or like And I'll say, but do I look disabled? And they'll say no, but I am. I've been disabled for more than 15 years, and I'm not talking about disabled where I'm just claiming, a pain or this, that. I'm talking about a full blown retirement. Like I get a retirement, social security, full blown check. Um, and people are shocked by that, When I started dating my husband, I knew he was a great person because that's something I'm never going to be
Mhm.
embarrassed of. And I told him from day one. And he never questioned, like, oh my God, I'm not going to mess with her
Right.
because kind of disability she got? Is it in here? Is she gonna cut me one day? Is she gonna be mean to me? Is she gonna do no? He accepted me and he accepted my package as any person should when you get
A
into a
relationship.
relationship, family, whatever you come with, you come with. And he had to learn to adapt. And he learns every day to this day. I'm a mom to a child with special needs. I'm learning every day
Yeah.
something new. So he just rides that ride with me, and we buckle up and we just do it together. And communication is key. He's my best friend. So, work together, live together, work together, literally work
Shout
together.
out to
Like I
Oscar.
support him in work. He puts up with a lot. He does therapy with my son. He has taken him to hospital appointments, everything when
He's
I
great. He's
can't.
a
That's
great guy.
awesome.
Uh,
I happen to know him. I happen to know him
and
a little
that,
bit, so I know that he's a good
yeah,
man.
she
Okay,
happens to
but
be his sister.
uh-huh.
Nah, he's
So I
definitely
would.
amazing and super supportive. I could definitely say that. I think that she,
That has helped me. But how do I manage though? You want to know how I manage? I want to say the blessing and curse is probably my ADHD
yeah,
because of the fact that I can multitask and I may
Hmm.
look unorganized, but in my mind I'm organized because I am an
Oh, that
overthinker.
sounds like me.
Because at 1 o'clock in the morning, while my husband is snoring, he rolls over. He said, "What are you doing on your phone?" "Oh, nothing. Sending the email." My mind is always going. When I'm not doing something, I feel like I need to be doing
Hmm.
something. My calendar is my best friend. So one thing about my son is his routine is life, and it showed me structure and routine. So I am like jotting everything down. I don't care if it's a happy hour. It's like you ask me, "Yo, you want to go Friday for some drinks?" "Sure, let me check my schedule." And I got to put it in. If I don't put it in, it doesn't remind me. And if it doesn't remind me, I don't even know I have to do it.
Hmm.
I don't care what it is. I have an alarm for every single thing on
I
my
mean,
phone.
this is the same girl that
And
plans
what
itineraries for trips like 3 months in advance. Yeah, so she's definitely beyond organized.
There's gotta be. We gotta have someone in the group that's organized.
period
We definitely
trifecta.
know Wendy. So
Ooh.
Right.
I don't know about Wendy either. Wendy be like,
You know those videos where they say, "Which one are you? Are you the friend that's sleeping? Are you the friend with the shots? Are you
Yeah.
the friend?" I'm the
Right. I'm
organizer.
in the
I'm the one
middle.
with the list.
what are you? What are you, Wendy?
I don't know, but I'm in the middle of you too.
She's the one that sometimes her eyes be lazy.
Right.
Sometimes that's every day. Wendy, open your eyes.
Remember the horse?
Oh my
Remember the
gosh.
horse in
Oh my
Samaná?
Right.
god.
That's definitely another episode.
Oh
Woo!
man.
Yeah, that was the good
We definitely
times.
have to touch that subject. Girl, girls, you have to do an episode. Girls
Girls trip.
trips that make it out the
Oh
Right.
chat.
my god. Oh my god.
Yes. That's definitely
It's
another episode.
you know again another off topic talking about girls trip and travel. We're talking about earlier today how like we wanted to talk about people that go on vacations or even out to dinner or stuff like that and that whole situation of splitting the bills. So we're definitely going to talk about that when we hit that girl topic of like vacation
Right.
because it's trending on Instagram because it became such an issue. I love these topics that just come from out of nowhere because it's like, what? Wait, what? Is that really something that we got to discuss? Like, but now that I think about it, I see it and it's something that's so big on Instagram. And it's like, okay, well, I want to hear everybody's opinion on it.
Well, that's why Marlene has an
Everybody's like,
itinerary. That's one of the things she'll probably bring up. Like, we're going on this trip. This
make
is
sure
what it
you have
is.
this and this ready because this is the total.
Exactly.
Oh, I'm sending you the menu so that you don't hit me with I don't even know what the price is.
Hmm.
And it's real basic. Very simple. If it has $1 sign, it's cheap. If it has four, it's a lot of money. So be prepared.
Yo,
Now
real
I
quick.
know.
So we know that and I just want to make sure that we let everybody know that at the end of the show, I want you guys all to know that we will be adding Media Marlene's Instagram, Helping Swans Instagram, and also her TikTok. I told you she's TikTok famous. But by the way,
Oh, I just signed with an agency.
ooh, wait, I want
Hmm.
to ask you a quick question. So, do you have like any Helping Swans merchandise that you would like to give us, as far as maybe like a shirt, a hat, a book, something?
I don't sell it. I do not sell it. But I definitely
Yeah,
can
because
hook you up.
it would be pretty cool. I would love to rock that. And even like when I go to the school, then that would be cool. My did I tell you that my daughter the other day wrote to me this beautiful message where she walks into the office, and she goes to Parkview and here in Georgia, and she goes, Mom, I've seen so many kids working in the office that are like special needs kids, Down syndrome, autism, and whatnot. And she goes, Mom, I had to walk outside. My tears came out, and I'm like, why? Like, why is that? Why are you tearing? That's nothing. We're okay with that. She was like, no, Mom, it's not because of that. It's just because I just seeing them working and seeing how happy they are to just have us walk in and greet us and attend to us. And it's just like I started thinking about my cousins, and she was like, and it just touched me. And she's like, Mom, I'm having a moment. And she was like literally crying. I'm telling you about it. And it makes me tear because, again, it comes from teaching your kids at the house. But I saw how vulnerable she became at that moment. And I'm like, I was surprised because I'm like, but we're with AJ all the weekend, every weekend. You don't feel like this. We were with my cousin in Miami. You never felt like this. You never got emotional like this. And she was just like, Mom, but it's different. Like I'm in a public school, and I didn't see it like this in Miami. And I'm seeing it here. And she's like, and I love him. I just wanted to go and give everybody a hug, but I didn't want to hug them because maybe
Aw.
they were going to be like, who is this weird girl hugging me? And that to me was like, it was just so touching because I'm like, oh my God. Like, first of all, I love the fact that my kids are like this. Like, to me, it really like makes me feel so good, as a mom, to know that I'm doing good with them and teaching them everything they need to know. But seeing how she loved this, and she went back inside, she had a conversation, she got to meet some of them, she talked about like, what do you like and what do I do and this and this and this, and I love that. So I really think that moving forward, I want people to please talk to your kids at home. It's so
Mhm.
important because just for the same reasons that you said, just because you're not around, or you don't see, or you're not in that environment, or whatever it is, the right wording, just still educate your kids. Because school, you
Yep.
could go to, you could even go somewhere to like a Starbucks, or even
Mhm.
just see somebody, just educate them, because the bullying is so big and it's so serious for situations like this. And it bothers
Kids take their lives every day. Kids take their lives
me
every day
so
from
Mhm.
bullying. If you just educate and you just take a few minutes of your life and just teach your kids, I tell people all the time, you don't have to like my son. You in your mind are able to consider him weird. You can. His teeth may stick out too much for you. He has microcephaly where his head size does not grow. His head doesn't grow. It's a very small head size, right? You may find that to be like, oh, that's a weird kid. Cool. Just keep your comments to yourself and
Mhm.
keep it moving. You don't need to be his best friend. I'm not asking y'all to be friends with my kid. We're not asking you. We're just asking you to keep your rude comments to
be
Mhm.
yourself. It's not
respectful.
that hard. I seen a post where the lady goes on Instagram. She's a teacher and she tells the kids, if a person can change something about themselves in 30 seconds or less, don't mention it to them. What does that mean? If the zipper is unzipped, can they fix that in 30 seconds? Yes. Hey, your zipper's unzipped. Cool. Hey, you got something on your shirt. Cool. Hey, you got gum in your hair. 30 seconds or less. My complexion, I can't change that. My hair texture, I can't change that. My teeth sticking out, my glasses, I can't change those things. So don't even mention it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
You don't want to be friends with them, just go
I
your
agree.
way. But they're not bothering you. They're not doing anything. If you are, adults are rude. You know, they hear a kid humming. I used to get asked all the time in public places, airports, supermarkets, why does he make those noises? My response used to be like, why do you look the way you do? Or why are you talking when no one's talking to you?
Mm-hmm.
Do you randomly go up to people and ask them questions like, how is my child making a humming noise affecting you? We're not in a movie theater, we're not in those type of settings. And even if we were, I think in this day and age, because of social media, because the access we have, you should know what these symptoms or these traits, character traits that they have, autistic people, you should be aware of
Mm-hmm.
them by now. Even if you don't know about it, you should already be aware of them. I don't know if you guys remember, we did a trip, us three, we've done a few trips, y'all. We did a trip to New York and we were in the Bronx, and I never forget this. And I don't think we've ever talked about it, but if y'all have a good memory, we were shopping last minute, even though we packed mad clothes, right? We were shopping. And in the store, there was a lady with a kid in a stroller. And the kid was like probably 6 or 7 years
With the
old.
pacifier.
And someone in the group said, and wasn't neither one of y'all, oh my God, big ass kid in a stroller. I was like, hold up, let's not judge because we don't know what.
Mm-hmm.
These autistic kids are known for eloping and running away, running. They have no knowledge of fear. There is no fear. They'll run straight into a car and not be concerned, run straight into the road. So when you see a kid in a stroller, they could have had bad knees. Who
Who cares?
cares? Like, what is that concern to you?
It could just be
Like,
a badass kid too. You know what I mean?
there needs to be,
Exactly.
well, mom, just run errands. But it's like I said, adults too do it.
Yeah.
Adults are,
Adults
Yeah,
are
you
worse,
know,
and I feel adults need to be educated as well, more than the kids
a hundred
at this
percent.
point.
Because oh my god, la idiotez que uno ve hoy en día con estos adultos, hasta a mí misma me da una gana de darle galleta a todo el mundo because this is
Mm-hmm.
the
Yeah.
stupid comments that are made. It's very
unnecessary.
it's very hard. But you know, I definitely want to thank you for
Yes.
taking your time out of your busy schedule for being here with us today, educating us in things that, you know, I don't know about Wendy, but I feel like I'm always learning with the things that you know, you show us, the things that you post, the things that you tell us. AJ is, you know, he's a big part of my life. He's my nephew, and he's a Yankees fan. Damn, I can't wait till I tell him. I gotta show him this episode. I tell him, "Go Dodgers." He he is he has definitely been the reason why we have learned a lot. You know, because
Yes.
you had Ashley when you were young. You know, you were a
Mhm.
teenager when you had her, and we didn't learn anything besides you don't have a kid at a teenage age, but we all still do, right? And you had
Mhm.
AJ, and we've learned so much. You know, we're educating ourselves by the day. I'm also learning to not be so paranoid all the time, you know, with everything of autism and the stupid things that I do. And you know, like I called Marlene one time, oh my god, I'm gonna stop giving him this formula because I just read that this formula has all these toxins and they're gonna give him like autism. Like she's like, all these formulas always had all these things, all
Mm-hmm.
these things, all these toxins. Like you just didn't know about it. Like you need to stop freaking out. But that's how bad it is. I get it. It's also part of my postpartum, but again, it's all leads back to just, you know, the things that you're reading and that not educating yourself enough to know the right from wrong, the you know wrong from right, or the do's and don'ts. So I hope that people, you know, really start focusing more on educating themselves for everything. I really want people to also reach out to you as far as being a medical interpreter. That's like something really big and important because let me tell you, there's a lot of these medical words that I don't be knowing. I be trying to Google them, but I still don't get them. They be like, I'm like, what? English. I don't know. It says something about my bone might be coming out. I don't know. And you don't know what the hell it is, truth be told. My mom is I happen to think she's more of her mom because, you know, they're very much the same with all
I'm very
all the
blessed.
health health conditions, health problems that they have, you know, both being disabled and not even looking like they're disabled. And my mom is the same way. She's not a medical interpreter or anything like that. But you tell my mom something about a medical word, and she'd be like, "I know, yo sé lo que, espérate, porque I remember that I was reading, and I'm like, you still read, like you actually read,
Yes, she lives that experience
right?"
every
So
day.
Mm-hmm.
exactly, she knows, So that's super important. Like if you guys don't know anything, want to educate yourself on that, I think that you guys should also follow her. Ask her, she will answer. Also, just keep giving awareness, keep doing what you're doing. I think you're doing a great job.
Yes.
I'm super proud of you.
Thank you.
I've been through your whole journey, believe it or not.
Absolutely. Yeah.
From I'm writing a book. I'm doing the what do you call it? The cartoons, the drawings, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do this, and it's gonna come out soon, and I'm like, she's real serious. Like she's really doing this, and she did it, and she hasn't stopped since then. Is tunnel vision
Consistency.
through. Well, we know she's very persistent and
Yes.
consistent.
Mm-hmm.
A little
You
bit
have
crazy,
to be.
not that much, but but I
Well,
but I just
Yeah.
want to say, keep doing what you're doing.
right.
You have definitely, I'm pretty sure, have impacted a lot of lives, have helped a lot of people, and we're very
Yes.
proud of you. Not just as family, but
Thank
also
you.
as as a friend, as a mom, as a woman, as a wife. We could all learn from these things. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we would love to have you here again to talk about other things. If you have things going on that are local that maybe we could share with people on our social media platform, or for when everybody subscribes on our YouTube and they could see, share them with us. Let's continue this awareness. Let's continue educating people. It's very important. I don't know all the right terminology words when it comes to all of this. I'm learning as I go, but do not judge me, please. This is
That's
a non-judge zone, please. But I definitely, appreciate you for taking your time and being here.
Yes.
This
Thank you
was
so
amazing.
much.
I I am honored to be here, and I'm glad because a lot of people take autism or just medical conditions when it is more important, like Autism Awareness Month. No, like these conversations need to be had, and your type of podcast is talking about all kinds of topics, right? But because you're talking about all kinds of topics, it's important that you incorporate things like this because this affects
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
everyone.
it does.
Believe it,
It
like we
does.
said, it affects everyone. It affects whether you have one in your home, a person living with autism, or your cousin has a child with
Mm-hmm.
autism. Everyone's going to know someone, one out
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
36, and at the end of the day, I am very grateful that y'all thought about me, thought about us. Follow me on all my pages, follow my son on Instagram. And yeah, if you have a little bit of extra cash, you can donate. It's a nonprofit
Yes.
organization. Every penny counts. At least it's tax exempt, right? And I mean, tax exempt. Uh, you can report
Okay.
it, and at the end of the day, we're giving
Of
to a
course.
good cause. You know what I
100%.
mean? Um, yeah, so that's how I'm able to help these families with no documents that can't afford to pay
Yeah.
me for the services that I'm doing out of the goodness of my heart. When somebody drops an extra $20 in my nonprofit organization, that's $20 that gives me gas to
Yeah,
go to the hospital, the children's hospital with another
I
family.
agree. I
So
Awesome.
agree. That's awesome. Wait, AJ's not doing mornings with AJ no more?
he is and he isn't. So the pressure of him having to record has never been me
Yeah, he
asking him.
doesn't,
It's
What
when
he
right.
he's in the
feels.
mood. Now we're not taking the bus, so there's no waiting
Oh,
for
okay,
us in the
okay. I get
morning.
it.
Now is if he wants to talk about sports, if he wants to talk about something, it's I love AMs with AJ, um, because he's popping. Whenever he does a video, it's like 300,
The
four
thing
hundred
is that he
thousand
knows.
views. Like
Like he even prepares him. I
yeah,
remember we was in the car and I was like, "Do you mind if I take a picture or a video?" And he was like, "Sure. What are we gonna talk about?" I was like, "Nothing. I'm just gonna record us eating this yummy pretzel." And he was like, "Okay." And it's like he was ready. Like
he's like, let me guess, content.
he knows.
Everybody
He
knows
knows.
I pull out my camera. Everything I do in my entire life is content.
Oh,
I don't care if I'm eating. because you can just take a snippet of what you're doing and I will just do a
Yeah.
little post about autism randomly, like with the wordings. So, we try to make an example
Yeah,
out of
I
everything.
agree.
Awesome.
I
So,
love it. I definitely love it. This,
did I
this
say
is what I was
permitted?
writing. It wasn't even much. This is my
Ah.
two
Yay.
nephews. I have Emmanuel and I have AJ, and I thought I was just trying to write this because I thought it was so cute. Can somebody take a picture so I can post it and send it to them? And can you
Yeah.
please show AJ and tell him that I did this?
All right. I screenshot it.
Yes.
We're good.
All right. So thank you once again. Make
Thank
sure,
you.
guys, that you are liking, following, commenting on our YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you follow us on our Instagram at Set It All Podcast. Make sure that you're also following Marlene at Media Marlene LLC and Helping Swans. I'm going to write them at the end of the show. Make sure you follow her on TikTok also, Media Marlene LLC. Make sure you follow us at Set It All. Don't forget. And make sure you subscribe on YouTube. Thank you guys once again for being here.
Thank you so much.
Guest, you, my amazing co-host, and it's your girl Simply Sin. We'll catch you guys on the next episode.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Adios.